This rally through the streets of Melbourne has become common practice for Falun Gong followers in many major cities around the world. 10 years after the Chinese government banned Falun Gong, the persecution of its members continues. Many are treated with suspicion by the Chinese government.
Since the ban, as you know, these millions of Chinese practitioners face torture, arrest, loss of their jobs, and lost the school right to go to school. Many families were forced to separate.
Falun Gong was introduced in 1992 by Li Hongzhi. The spiritual movement is based on three main principles: truthfulness, compassion and forbearance. It also places emphasis on the health and well-being of the body by practicing exercises similar to Tai Chi, but the Chinese government sees it differently.
The Chinese government regularly refer to Falun Gong as an evil cult, say they encourage their believers to be superstitious, to believe in things that they're nonsensical, and also that they do harm, both that they don't seek medical treatment and that they also encourage harm to be done to others. None of this fits the pattern of Falun Gong behaviour in other countries. Most people think that the reason the Chinese government has engaged in this behaviour with Falun Gong is because they see them as a threat to the state, and the state desires to maintain a great degree of control over various social institutions.
This perceived threat came to a head in April 1999. Nearly 10,000 Falun Gong practitioners held a peaceful rally at the Communist Party headquarters in Beijing. They decided to march there after an article was published in a college newspaper in Tianjin saying young people shouldn't practice Falun Gong. Unhappy about the story, Falun Gong members walked to the college office where they were greeted by police.
They basically came to the college with a 40-odd number of policemen and arresting these people that went to the college for no reason. Some of them were beaten up. Many of them were, detained for a while.
The government, feeling threatened and surprised at the quick mobilisation of the Falun Gong in Beijing, without the authorities having any knowledge of it, officially banned the movement 2 months later.
Chinese officials have continued their media blitz against the Falun Gong health sect, branding it a superstitious cult and promising to punish organisers.
When the ban started, actually I was astonished and surprised because I didn't understand why they just took this kind of a policy. Because I think I have been learning a very good thing. I benefit a lot from it. Why they don't understand it?
Forrest Hu began practicing Falun Gong in 1995. He says since the ban his life has been difficult, having been detained several times in the last 10 years.
In the labor camp, I suffer a lot from both physically and I think spiritually, because they just took every kind of things to torture you or to force you to renounce your belief. If you didn't renounce your belief, for example, I was forced to sit still on a very small stool for a very long time. That made me hurt very much, and or I was forced to jump like a frog with the two hands crossed back until you couldn't move again.
This type of torture and humiliation has been well documented by respected human rights organisations and academics. Supporters outside China claim that since the ban, nearly 2,000 Falun Gong have died in custody. There are more extreme accusations too, claims that Falun Gong practitioners have been killed and had their organs harvested. While much of this has been hard to verify and numbers are difficult to confirm, Carolyn Evans says there's no doubt they're being mistreated.
We do know that the Chinese government does engage in detention, torture, mistreatment of a wide range of people that are being held either as criminal prisoners or in the labour camps. So it's certainly not a stretch to imagine that that would be happening.
Forrest Hu felt he had no choice but to renounce his Falun Gong practice, but he says the decision wasn't an easy one.
I just felt that I cannot I think that I was not, able to just to persist anymore sometimes. If I want to have a clear mind, if I could walk out of the camp still knowing who I was. So I did. But that's the deepest hurt and suffering in my life.
Before and during the Beijing Olympics, the Falun Gong website was blocked, and according to John Xiao, some members were detained for up to 3 months. Despite the persecution of Falun Gong in China, their numbers have grown during the last 10 years. An exact figure isn't known because there is no record of membership, but John Xiao says it's practiced in over 140 countries. Carolyn Evans says the treatment of Falun Gong raises the wider issue of a lack of religious freedom in China. She says while some progress has been made, there's still a long way to go.
The Cultural Revolution was the high point of persecution, and life for religious believers was made extremely difficult in China during that time. In more recent years, there has been a greater degree of religious freedom given, but certainly not the full religious freedom required, for example, by international human rights law.
But Forrest, too, remains optimistic about the future of Falun Gong, despite the ever-present watchful eye of Chinese authorities.
Though that we suffered a lot, in the past decade, I think the future will be better. Because one is the practitioners, many of the practitioners, they still persist in it. They become stronger and stronger in their mind. This kind of a power, I think, will change the history.